The book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 11. And I saw a great white throne, and him who sat upon it, from whose presence earth and heaven fled away, and no place was found for them. And I saw the dead, the great and the small, standing before the throne, and the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged from the things which were written in the books, according to their deeds. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and Hades gave up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every one of them according to their deeds. And death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And if anyone's name was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire. Before creation can be brought in with newness and holiness and righteousness, there must be a judgment. And in that judgment, after it falls, most people will be swept away into hell for one sole purpose: to make way for what God plans on doing in His Son, Jesus Christ. In order for the new heaven and the new earth to come about, creation must be purged of the great enemy, the devil. And after He has put down the devil, then He turns to another enemy, man. We must rid creation of the vile, despicable being who has contaminated it so. And the words of God speaking this way causes you to tremble. And then all of a sudden, you hear your name. He's talking about you.
The fact of the matter is, a judgment is coming. The fact of the matter is, all that we can see will be melted as with fire. Is it a reality in your life? Are you continuing to grow in your hatred of sin and your love for righteousness? Has God done such a work in your life that the God you hated and you ignored, you now esteem, cherish, and seek? That the very reason why you were created, the only reason you were created, was to esteem God, to know Him in such a way that you would esteem Him above all things, forsake all things, and seek Him, and desire to know Him. So the end is not in seeking salvation. The end is not in seeking self-preservation. The end is, I want Him. God. In Romans 1:16, for I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. We live in a day where we think that in order to be relevant to our culture, we must be like our culture. We live in a day where we think in order for the gospel to be relevant, we must somehow adapt it to the culture, and nothing on the face of the earth or in the bowels of hell could be further from the truth. The worst thing that could ever happen to a preacher, the worst thing that could ever happen to a church, the worst thing that could ever happen is to become civilized and respectable. We live in such a trite age, and we all march in a Vanity Fair, where everyone wants to wear bright colors and ignore the fact that everyone's marching off a cliff into eternal destruction. Societies as we know them, the West, is crumbling before us, and we still choose to be trite and frivolous and happy.